Hello, and welcome to an episode of Spatial Solutions for Tomorrow. I'm Cayden Hercules, and today we're exploring how suburban communities like Aberdeen, Maryland can be transformed through a strategy called Retrofitting Suburbia. It's about turning car-dependent neighborhoods into walkable, connected, and livable spaces. Something we're starting to see right here, just steps from the MARC train station, right downtown Aberdeen, Maryland. So, let's start with the big idea. Ellen Dunham Jones, a leading voice on the topic, describes retrofitting suburbia as a response to the outdated patterns of suburban sprawl. So things like parking lots, strip malls, and zoning that separates everything. In her TED Talk, she says,
Boulevard that has become the main street for their town. And it's transformed from being an ugly, unsafe, undesirable address to becoming a beautiful, attractive, dignified, sort of good address.
Man, this quote is very important because she's not just imagining this, it's happening. In fact, right here in Aberdeen, there are plans to redevelop the area around the MARC station into a walkable, transit-oriented hub. That means fewer empty lots and more housing, parks, and small businesses, all centered around public transportation. So, how does this theory of retrofitting suburbia play out in practice, where we are responding to outdated suburban sprawl? Let me take you into the heart of Aberdeen. If you stand at the train station and look around, you'll see a mix of small homes, some industrial buildings, and a lot of underused land. Places that were built for cars, not people. But Aberdeen's transit-oriented development plan wants to change that. The city, along with the Maryland Department of Planning, is pushing to convert this area into a pedestrian-friendly community. They plan to replace some of the massive surface parking with mixed-income housing, retail, and public space. The goal is to make Aberdeen more accessible, not just to commuters, but to people who live here year-round. And to be honest, when I first got there and I drove through, I could see the strip malls and the parking lots, and it's kind of one of those towns that you just keep on driving. You don't really stop and you grab something to eat. It doesn't pull you in. Even the center point of the town where you might get off the MARC train and walk out and look out, it's one of those towns that you drive through. You don't really stop and you look around, you experience the place. And that is something that they are trying to change. This kind of transformation isn't just about new buildings. It's about shifting values. In the Redesigning Cities podcast, Dunham Jones points out that
Keep up technologically. Public health is another reason to consider retrofitting. Researchers at the CDC and other places have increasingly been linking suburban development patterns with sedentary lifestyles. And those have been linked then with the rather alarming growing rates of obesity.
And Dunham is correct. These are real challenges for places like Aberdeen. Without walkable streets or local amenities, residents rely heavily on cars, which limits access and harms the environment. Retrofitting suburbia helps reverse that. It brings health back to the neighborhoods by promoting walking, reducing emissions, and supporting social connection through everyday life, naturally, honestly. And this is a topic that's widely talked about. Dunham isn't the only one speaking on it. Another podcast, 99% Invisible, talks about how car-dominated streets shape our lives in subtle ways. In their episode, The Modern Moloch, the host says,
In recent times, some of us have come to think the city streets shouldn't just be for cars and trucks. That cars take up too much space and release too much carbon, just to move a couple of people a short distance.
wow, Aberdeen is a perfect example of that. Long crosswalks, narrow sidewalks, big box stores separate from neighborhoods. But retrofitting invites us to rethink what's possible. And Aberdeen's Mark Station area is one of those possibilities because it is at the center point of the town, and it is the main transportation point that can get you all the way down to Bowie and all the way up to Wilmington, Delaware. So this is the perfect spot for this town to start reimagining how everybody's lives can change and how they connect with each other naturally. As someone who lived near here, I find it exciting to witness change. Aberdeen might not be a big city, but its small steps matter. By retrofitting Suburbia, we're not just redesigning buildings, we're redesigning how people move, meet, and thrive. So, what does a town like Aberdeen teach us? That suburban places can evolve, that walkability isn't just a city thing, and that even a parking lot has the potential to become a plaza. So, thank you for listening to Spatial Solutions for Tomorrow. I'm Cayden Hercules, and I'll catch you next time.